Dave here at the house. Going to talk about how to buy a snowboard and everything associated with it. First thing you need to determine is your ability level. Are you just starting off in the sport? Are you going to be someone who's maybe only going out once a year? That would be, somebody like you're looking at beginner board for sure. We'll get into a little bit more, what the beginner boards entail in a second here. Second class is going to be intermediate. This is people that are looking to go out a few more times than that a year. Somebody that's been riding for maybe 2 to 5 years. Your typical all mountain rider. Maybe somebody that's just getting into park or just getting into the natural terrain as well too. From there you have your advanced rider. Your advanced rider is going to be somebody that's been snowboarding for a while or just naturally picked it up really quick. And you'd be looking at your park riders in this category. Somebody doing the jumps, the rails, the boxes, the dangerous stuff. And on the other side of things, you got that free rider, somebody who's jumping off trail, hitting up the powder, going through the trees. These riders are definitely going to be looking for a nicer board, something a little bit more specific to their type of riding. Second thing that's going to determine the snowboard is going to be your body, your height, your weight, your foot size. Your height for an average weight person is going to be a pretty easy way to size the board. For entry-level rider or a freestyle rider, you're looking typically for something between your shoulder and your nose. Beginner just getting into it, they're going to progress on a shorter board, or a freestyle rider is going to have the board react quicker, spin quicker, stuff like that. Within that category, I'd say, if you're somebody that's doing like handrails, boxes, city rails, stuff like that, shoulder level to Adam's apple is a pretty good guesstimate. If you're looking for all-around park, personal preference will weigh in here, but it's a shoulder to a chin. Entry-level rider, depending on whether they're growing or not, can be anywhere from the Adam's apple to the nose. Intermediate, all mountain, the bread and butter, the center, the cruisers, the people that just want one board to do it all, or an intermediate length would be between your chin and your nose. And then your advanced free riders, your powder guys, your cliffs, your uneven terrain, stuff like that. It's going to be between your nose and your top of your head. You're looking for stability at speed, floating the powder, all that kind of stuff. Personal preference definitely will have you bouncing in between those, but those are good general guidelines. Obviously, if you're a little bit heavier for your size, you want to increase the length of the board. If you're really light, you want to decrease the length of the board. From there, another thing we'll roll into is the shape. The shape of the board is going to be pretty specific for certain types of riding. Twin board, which is going to be symmetrical if cut in half, same nose, same tail. Those are going to be really good for the freestyle riders, entry-level riders, people riding smaller mountains. These boards are designed to ride the same forwards or backwards. They're really balanced, really playful, fun for goofing around the side of the runs, but equally good for freestyle and park usage as well. And then, from there you'll move into a directional board. That board is going to have a little bit more nose than tail. It's going to provide, a little bit more suspension when riding one way, which a lot of people do, the whole time. They don't ever ride switch or whatnot, so they just want the board performance oriented in one way. Then as you get out into really specific aspects of the sport, like say powder riding, you'll see tapered shapes where the nose is wider than the tail. Those are going to give you really good float and powder and allow you to ride shorter boards than you typically would for that style of riding. For the freestylers, you got the same thing. You got your supplemental boards that are going to be much shorter overall. That is just going to be fun for goofing around. They spin quicker, they're lighter weight, easier for your body to manipulate. So both sides have their supplemental boards. From there, we move into flex. Flex is, once again, like everything else, based a lot on personal preference. But a good guideline to follow is an entry level or say freestyle rider is going to prefer a softer flexing board, one that has more forgivingness to it, one that is going to be easier to press, or you're not going to hook an edge quite as quickly with it. Those boards, definitely, like I said, will be more forgiving, help your progression, and have it more where you're riding the board rather than the board riding you. You go into the middle of the range flexes. Once again, this is that intermediate all mountain rider. If the flex scale is judged on 1 through 10, it's going to be like in the 5 to 6 range, maybe 4 to 6 range, right in the middle of that. Functions good for all type of riding. And you'll see this on a lot of the boards out there. From there, you move into a stiffer board. These boards are going to be reserved for the high-end freestyle rider, somebody who is doing the half pipe, somebody who is doing backcountry freestyle with huge, distances being achieved and really high rollout speeds on the landing. Also free riders who are looking for high speed riding, stability through uneven terrain, and then also good flotation and powder. You don't want the boards folding up. These riders would typically prefer a stiffer flexing board. Like I said before, the personal preference definitely is going to have people going one way or another within that. Secondly, you're going to be looking at the side cut of the board. Typically, an entry-level board will have more of a radial side cut, a simple side cut, really easy to figure out, really easy to get used to, very forgiving, mellow ride to it. That can change if you do make the depth of this radial side cut, a little bit deeper. Then it's still going to, be a very reactive side cut, where a shallower one will be more forgiving, and that goes for progressives as well, which are the next kind of side cut. Those have, different radiuses of side cut into different parts of the board. Usually the purpose of these is to create a really easy turn initiation or rolling up onto the edge. And then as you arc through the turn, they really power you through, kind of slingshot you through to the next turn. Works good for freestyle or free ride. A little bit more experience required to get on some of these, especially when they're deeper, but the payoff in the performance is definitely worth it. And then also you're going to go into the super specialized side cuts, the really new stuff out there, such as the magne-traction from LibTech or the pressure distribution from Burton. These technologies are designed to increase your edge grip on icy hard packed terrain. Basically, instead of having a smooth side cut, the LibTech one will wobble ever so slightly, or the Burton one will just jut out underneath the bindings themselves. They just create extra points of contact on the board, which is really going to help keep your grip when you're going high speed through uneven or icy hard packed terrain. But for side cut, that's pretty much it. Bases are another thing to consider when looking at your snowboard. Your beginner entry-level snowboards will have usually an extruded base. The extruded bases are cheaper to produce. They require less waxing. They're easier to fix if they get any kind of damage from like a rail or ski or whatnot. You'll see those ones also included on some of the lower priced freestyle boards because they're easy to repair, they're low maintenance, they fit that kind of rider in a lot of cases. As you move up into higher end freestyle boards or most free ride boards, you're going to see a sintered base, which is a more porous base. They're faster, but you have to wax them more. They are a little bit harder and more resistant to damage, but they're a little bit harder to repair as well too. Basically the difference there is that the sintered base is going to be much more porous. It's going to be kind of like your skin. Waxing would be compared to putting lotion on your skin to maintain the moisture level. The sintered bases, these high-end ones, will dry out if not waxed on a pretty frequent basis. So they require a little bit more maintenance, but the speed payoff is there. For bases, that's pretty much it as far as looking at what kind of riding you're going to be doing. Another thing to consider is a camber, which is a traditional board that has the bowing like this, nose and tail here. The center is going to be lifted, versus a new rocker board, which has more of an elliptical smile shape to it. A lot of these rocker boards that have come out recently have made snowboarding a little bit easier. They're going to be more forgiving. They're going to work a little bit better at being kind of a Swiss Army knife of boards, working all over. So if you don't know what kind of riding you're looking to do yet, and you're looking to future-proof yourself, keep you from buying another board for a good 5 years out, these are good boards to consider. There's really specific ones that we'll cover a little bit more in depth in other videos. The traditional camber boards still work great. I still ride them myself. They definitely are the way they've been designed for many, many years. They do afford a nice suspension, and they typically will hold their shape, and they're flexible a little bit longer than some of the rocker ones out there. Here, personal preference and how much you're willing to pony up are really going to help you decide on those specifically.